Round the fire, warm and bright, stocked up food for the night. Got our plans set in gold for the days when it's cold. Tools and gear stacked up high in the cabin we reside, listening to the winds howl, prepping for the morning's prowl. At the purpose fireside we stay, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, round the fire every night.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Preppers Fireside. Nice and warm by the fireside tonight. We've got a full house. We've got Josh, the disabled camper. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing really good, thanks. How about you?
I'm good. I'm always. Steve, the everyday prepper. How are you doing, Steve?
Not very good. Cheers, Mike. How you doing? You all right?
I'm great. I'm wonderful.
Hi, Josh.
And we have the Emerald Isle prepper, which is Roland. How are you doing, Roland?
Hi, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Excellent. Right, so full house. The topic of the night. Let's have a quick check in the comments first. We've got Kelly in there. Hello. Miss Worm, Scottish Prepper. We've got an abundance of moderators in there today. Scottish Prepper and Miss Worm. Going to stay on form for that one. Elusive Dartmoor's in there. He survived. Hi, Mike. I survived. Elusive Dartmoor's just done a little one-night survival thing where he only took out like a bivvy and some water, and that's it. So it's going to be a video on his channel, so that should be cool to look at. But tonight, we are talking about the riots. Now, we are not talking specifically about the riots in the UK. We've got enough bloody news channels doing that at the moment. I'm one of them because I did a video on it. But more civil unrest in the UK. First of all, I want to quickly go around the table and touch on the ones we've had in the UK to see if anyone was affected. Steve, in your area, was there any? Did you see any of this protesting / Greg's looting going on?
No.
Short answer. There we go. Anything near you, Josh?
No, I live where I live. They don't get out of bed before 12 o'clock. They don't. They're so lazy. They wouldn't know what a protest was, to be
honest. Roland, were you near any of it?
No,
not
at all.
We've all picked wise.
In Cork, so on the west side from Ireland. There are no protests since we are not part of the UK.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fair enough. Right, so we have seen that the riots have been going on. Obviously,
what about you, Mike? Sorry, just to jump in. What about you? Have you seen anything firsthand?
Not firsthand as such. But there was an event. There was something happened down in Bolton, down the road from me, where my kids and the rest of my family live.
Okay.
So that was a bit too close to home for me.
And
all right. I was on the list of that 100 that never happened. So there was supposed to be something happen in my town for that, and that never happened. So yeah, thanks for asking, Steve. So question is, did we see it coming? How can we predict or preempt that this may be a possibility? What are the warning signs for civil unrest? Come to you first, Josh. What do you think?
Yes, we did see it coming. I mean, it's this is nothing new. I mean, riots have been gradually happening anyway, even though it's not in the news. I think not to get political, but I think the reason that the riots took off as much as they did was actually because of our Prime Minister. Had he not called everybody far right thugs for just having a voice and opinion, I think things would have been a lot better. Yeah, we did see it coming. We are always getting warning shots. I see a lot more in the future as this government carries on doing what it's doing.
Yeah. Steve, do you use a particular media source for stuff like this? Obviously, the incident in Southport, which was tragic, was on the mainstream news. But to see something like this that could potentially boil up, do you keep an eye on any channels for that?
I mean, I'm always looking at a whole host of news outlets and YouTube channels. I don't get a lot of information per se from YouTube channels because a lot of that is really just opinion and then reporting the news afterwards. But there's some open source sites that I check stuff out on. But obviously, the Southport event was definitely mainstream.
Yeah,
and they're saying that triggered it, but like Josh said, there's there's been an underlying tension for a long time, and I think the cost of living's got a lot to do with it. If people are really struggling financially, there's a whole host of that as well. But it was certainly whipped up by the media and the government for whatever reason. Obviously, we don't want to get political, but there's some kind of. It feels like there's some kind of agenda there. It's almost like they want people to be divided for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's. I understand what you're saying, and the only thing I can think of is to give themselves more power at the end of the day. Obviously, Roland, you're not directly affected by this, like you say, but with this, it must still be in the back of your mind because you've still got a government.
The thing is, in my opinion, when I watch news, I always look for things like, what does the news want to provoke in me? If the news want to provoke in emotions, in no matter which direction it goes, there is a reason behind it. So, and then when I find news which is provoking any emotions, negative or positive, I try to investigate where the news is coming from.
Yeah, read between the lines. Yeah.
Because if you are reacting as person out of emotions, it's always a bad thing.
Yeah. Obviously, with the riots, we saw looting, and I don't think that was anything to do with either side, left, right, politically correct or not. It looked like kids to me taking advantage of the situation. But with general civil unrest, I'll come to you first this time, Steve. With general civil unrest, the looting seems to start within a day, within no time at all. And yet most people's SHTF scenarios say, oh, it's going to be a week before people start looting. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it's going to be instantly? Because when we see these things going on, it's the same day people start smashing up shops.
There's two schools of thought there that you just brought up. I've always thought that with civil unrest, you're going to get looting the same day. That's going to be part of it. You're going to get certain people that will just take advantage of the situation. But then with civil unrest, if shops start to shutter themselves down, you're going to have a problem with food supply to the population. So if that happens for more than a couple of days. Because a lot of people with the cost of living, a lot of people I know are not doing kind of monthly shops now. They're doing weekly shops. They're doing little top-up shops in between as and when they get money. So because they can't afford it. So they're going to run out of food a lot sooner than they would have done perhaps, in the 80s. Yeah. So civil unrest now, as opposed to back in the 80s, is going to have a bigger knock-on effect more quickly, I think. So, yeah. So in answer to your question, I think it would be expected that you get looting straight away. But once people start thinking, oh, where's my next meal coming from? Then it goes to a whole different level.
Yeah. Do you think, Roland, do you think the looting, like when it's instantly on the same day, it's things like mobile phone stores, technology stores, high value, high ticket items that might not be useful in an SHTF situation? So in that situation, if you saw the SHTF coming, would you still risk going out for them final supplies?
No.
The
thing is, if something like this, what now was happening with the looting and the riots would start, I would hunker down and wait until they are gone.
Yeah. Josh, would you make a trip for some final supplies while people were concentrating on phone stores and TVs that they're never going to be able to use? It might free up the hardware stores and supermarkets. Would you have some final supplies to get, do you think?
Well, first of all, let's just go back to who these looters are. I think they're just opportunists. So first of all, that's all they're there for. They're not actually rioters at all. So they see a riot, they go for what they want, they take what they want, and they'll take any opportunity to do so. Going on to your question, yeah, I would still go out. I mean, because anything that I need is going to come from a DIY store. So it's not going to come from a food shop or a supermarket. I don't think looters are, going to go into Great Mills or whatever, being cute. Their first opportunity, they're going to go, like I said, go to the phone shops, TV shops, food shops, stuff like that. So yes, I would still risk it. I'd be cautious. I'd check my routes, plan my way. But yes, I would.
Josh out on his scooter with the Boudica spikes on the side, taking
Yeah,
out anyone in his way.
I'm less likely to be targeted on a scooter, to be honest. I would use the scooter because I know they're going to say, "Oh well, he's no threat, right?" It's just
The old sympathy vote.
right? Yeah, so
he's sweet and innocent. What's that shotgun and thing hanging off the back?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So I did a survey prior to this one. I'll come to the comments in a second, guys. I have put a little note at the bottom. Put it in block capitals. If you've got any specific questions, I'll try and not miss them. So the first survey question I put out on the site was, in civil unrest, would you plan to bug in or bug out if the civil unrest had got to the point where it was right next to you? Now, as expected, nearly 90% of people said bug in, and 11% said bug out. So I think we're all of the. I don't need to ask you because I think we're all of the schooling of bug in. The question I want to ask you is, at what stage would you bug out? Because it's waiting for the wolves to be at the door. It might be too late. So Roland, will come to you first. At what stage does it turn into bug out with civil unrest?
When the situation is not holdable for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when I couldn't hold the house, the flat at all, I would go.
But if you're at the point where you can't hold it, have you got an alternative way to get out?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. As long as that's part of the plan, that's always a good thing. Josh, at what stage do you run for cover?
At the moment, the riot hits the street where I live, really, because I'm not in the middle of any shopping center. I'm not going to be anywhere near where a riot would actually happen. So if it's moved from those main areas and it's starting to hit my neighborhood, that's me gone. And yes, I have an alternative route out as well.
Yeah. Steve, bugging out. At what point do you give up on the supplies and have to hit the road with civil unrest?
Hopefully not at all.
Yeah.
On a lot of stuff that I've read, you need to make that decision usually within the first 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So whatever you decide, you then stick with. So my initial choice would always be for bugging in. If it got to a point, I mean, I'm not near any shops. Similar to Josh, I'm not near any kind of places that would be looted. So if they were attacking individual houses, systematically, then I think we're talking about a much more serious breakdown of society, and rule of law has gone out the window. Whereas with these riots, and although there was looting, and I know they've got out of hand, there's still a government in place, and there's still still the law on the streets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if it goes residential, then we've got something much more serious to worry about. So I would then treat that as an escape, not a bug out. And I've got alternative ways. The family know ways of getting out. Where we'd go, haven't really planned massively because of the area I'm in. It's not as relevant to me as it might be for other people.
So with regards to bugging, I'll stick with you a second, Steve. With regards of bugging in, how can we secure our family and our home from that outside potential threat? Is it beef up security, or is it stay hidden? Is it be the grey man? What would you say is the best method with that?
It's a bit of both, definitely. I mean, I saw Lee from Bug Out Shop did a sort of a tongue-in-cheek, how to board up your house and stuff like that, which was very good, actually. Yeah. And if you're DIY keen like I am, I've got tons of bits of wood and metal and stuff all around the house, and I know what I would put and where, so I could board up the house fairly quickly. I've got security cameras in place that if the internet was down, it's not cloud storage, it's all I can still access it on my phone. I can still connect to my router, even though it might not be able to connect outside. So I can still see what's going on around the house. I've got cameras all over the place. So and then when you say about staying hidden, it depends. If you want to behave normally, but if the power's out, then I've got backup power, obviously, as you know. But having lights on and being the only one with the lights on in the street is going to make you an absolute target. So you've got to be careful with that. So again, blackout curtains, to stop sort of telegraphing your position, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Josh, with yourself, you won't mind me saying you're probably not as able-bodied as a lot of us, by your own admission. How do you pre-prepare to protect your home? Because it's not exactly you're going to run out with a board and board up every single window in the space of 10, 15 minutes. So how do you pre-prepare to secure your bug-in location?
I personally don't, because I feel it won't make much difference for me. So when the threat becomes that close, it's time for me to go, because I'm going to be safer out somewhere on my own. I don't have a support network near me. I will stay for as long as I can. I will stay in the dark. Nobody will know of my existence. I will keep as low profile as possible. I know how to black out. I know how to remain, unseen, if you like, in my own neighborhood without drawing any attention. But I think in terms of protecting myself, I mean, this next Thursday, I'm actually going to go to Army Martial Arts class and
nice.
start to learn that. So I am going to attempt to try and make it easier for me to protect myself. But I feel, for me personally, I could just fall over. So, do you know what I mean? And that's me gone. So I would just remain quiet as long as I can. And if it gets too close, I'll have to go.
Yeah. So more of the grey man approach. Yeah. Roland, does being in a flat give you an advantage here, or is it a disadvantage, do you think?
Depending. For me, it's in regards of bugging in. I would definitely bug in. But for me, it's Overwatch. So I've got 2 drones, and in the circumstances when something would happen, I would fly both drones to see if something is coming, because you can position them with a GPS system, and there are only 2 ways into our house.
Right.
And people have to come through these ways. There is no different way. And due to this, I can see what is happening and can react this way. And the house is secured anyway with cameras, and I brought on cameras down in the garden as well. So I see when something is moving.
Yeah, I like the whole drone Overwatch thing. I recently read a series of books on prepping, and one of the things that they did was try to source a lot of drones. It was interesting. Quickly in the comments, Barry Page, yes, thank you. I got them. They're awesome. I really appreciate it. Miss Worm, unless I needed something on prescription, I'd keep well clear of towns. Elusive Dartmoor says, do you think riots will be a start for companies to start shutting stores and doing more online? That's interesting. How do you think this is going to affect the economy? We'll go around the table with that one. I don't know who we started with last time. We'll start with you, Roland. Who do you think the companies are going to close the doors? Is it worth having a shop front anymore? Or just are we going to see the town centre completely gone? It's been dying for a while.
I think the town centers would be shutting down anyway, depending on when riots will happen and the stores were looted. How bad the looting was, because most people, if they loot or take stuff with them, they would take valuable stuff with them and not food. They wouldn't go into steal food. They would go into steal electronics.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Josh, do you think we're going to see start seeing a lot more high street shops closing because of things like this?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that's inevitable anyway. I think high street shops are closing anyway, right, left and center. Where I am, it's a high street with nothing going on. But I think, if the rioting carries on in the major cities, you will see them pulling out. And I think that's going to be pretty bad for most people, especially if it's shops that are selling food.
Not Greg's. Not
Greg's. No. Greg's have superpowers.
Can I just make a point that one of the places being looted was Shoe Zone? if you need to loot shoes on for
Plastic
£10 Crocs, there's issues. Steve, do you think we're going to see a lot more high street shops disappearing for this? Is it worth the risk for them keeping open?
Can you imagine waiting 3 days on Amazon Pantry for your warm Greg's pasty or your sausage roll?
Yeah, you like it to be warm by the time it gets here. Just Eat
It's
can't
going to
even
cause
manage that.
problems in itself. I think this is just accelerating a trend that we're seeing anyway.
Mhm.
You know, we're already, as I think Josh said, we're already seeing boarded up shops in town centres and stuff like that, aren't we? You know, and it's. I know new shops are open. Well, where I live, it's just coffee shops, just constant opening of new coffee shops. That's about it.
Same
you know.
here. Coffee shop, charity shop. Coffee shop,
Yeah.
charity shop.
I think that's where the profits are these days. There's a lot of money in the service industry, and you know, apart from pubs which are closing down left, right, and centre. But yeah, I think it's just accelerating a trend we're seeing. You know, when you look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, Josh, you wanted to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the situation in America right now, after all the riots, and you know, some of the cities are going through a really big downfall, and most big stores now are pulling out of the cities altogether. And I can see that happening here. They're either going to move out to the outskirts of somewhere where people are going to find it difficult to get to if they don't have transport. They're going to completely close and go online. So I do see it happening in quite a major way over the next couple of years.
Yeah, we've seen kind of, like Steve said, we've kind of seen that trend happening for a while with the high street. So it's going to become this gimmicky hipster place. Oh, I'm going to town. That's something different, you know, but there's not going to be any mainstream shops left there, I don't think. Also in the comments, Brooke says, bug in definitely, prep the house, Home Alone on steroids. There we go. So that's... I don't think you should take Home Alone as tips for prepping security. Just
I think that'd be great. Rig the stairways with nails, paint tins hanging on strings.
I would cause setting up that house. I would cause more injuries to myself than anyone potentially getting in.
You can also get that paint for the fences, can't you? So you fall off it because you can't.
That's it. Yeah, all of that.
Yeah. No, honestly, it'd be like you'd think you're going to set it up like Home Alone, and it'd be more like an episode of Benny Hill if I did that. Lee from the Bug Out Shop done a good video on protecting your home the other day. Yes, we've just mentioned that. Cheers to that, Liz. And Stefan Weiland, Lone Wolf Tactics, says, hi, Roland. I've seen your podcast here a few minutes ago. And then he says something that Roland can say for us. What's he saying?
I have to read what he wrote.
Can you not see it on the screen?
No. Yeah, beste Grüße aus der Heimat. It's greetings from home.
Oh, excellent. There you go. Right, now I've left that. There we go. Okay, so let's go into the bug out side of things. Obviously, nobody wants to know your plans, guys. Keep your plans to yourselves. But as general advice to preppers, if it came to the stage, like Josh says, they're on his street, or like Roland says that they're at the door and he can't hold them off any longer, what do people need to think about when it comes to escape tactics and planning? So we'll come to you first, Steve, if that's all right. Or do you need some time?
It's not something I've thought about in great depth, to be honest. I know that might sound a bit mad as a prepper, but you know, as I said earlier, if it comes to my street, the country is gone. You know, it's that bad.
Yeah.
So you know, bugging out and running away is an absolute last option. So self-defense. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, for obvious reasons. But yeah, it would have to be defense. I think it's also really important to know your neighbours if you can, because if something like that's happening and you know people in the surrounding area, you're going to get wind of it a lot sooner than you would if you were just literally holed up and didn't know anybody in the street, and you'll be able to react. And even give you time to plan. I mean, I would know if it was coming to my street. I would know it's not going to just suddenly come to my street unless there was like some other kind of. I just can't imagine why a riot would start in my street alone. It would be spreading to my street from somewhere else. So I would know about it quite a way in advance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'd have some time to plan. That's why I haven't really kind of planned for it. You know, I've got enough preps and supplies to keep me hold up for a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
Including water and everything else, you know, and I've got power and I've got food and all that sort of stuff, and you know, antibiotics and things like that I wouldn't have to venture out for at all.
Yeah.
So I could hold up, but yeah, if people were trying to bang on my door, first of all, who are these people who are going to be banging on my door? Because you know, if it's the same sort of people that were doing the riots up and down the country, I can't imagine that they would be smashing down into individual people's doors. I could be wrong.
No, I get it. Yeah, it's about reading the situation. If you're in a lower risk area, then maybe it's not something thought about as much. But I mean, Josh, you do wild camping and you train often with a weighted pack. Even, you know, with limited ability, you're still out walking with the dog and training, so you can do that. Does an escape plan come into your tactics, or is it something that you've thought about? Have you got multiple routes and things like that?
I have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. I will follow them in order depending on the situation. So if it's like, I mean, right now I'm not concerned that somebody's going to come bashing my door in, but you know, plan A. See, I don't want to give too much away. I have three. I have three plans for survival. But I mean, I'm not going to give you locations. But plan A is to go to a certain location. Plan B is a stash location. Plan C, I'm not going to tell you about it at all. But there is a plan C.
That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
I think people just need to carry on doing what they're doing, right? I mean, you need to have your bug out bag always ready.
Would your advice be planning
normal things?
Would your advice be planning multiple things like that, though, to people to have
you should always,
A, B, C, D?
Yeah, you need more than one plan because things change. You know, I mean, imagine that I'd planned plan A was to go a certain route. That route is now closed. I need another. I mean, plan A plus, if you like, to go another route. So I need to know where I am at all times. I need the ability to read a map. I need to know where I'm going. I need to see alternative routes. I don't want to be trapped in any one position, right? So yeah, always have extra plans to your plans. You can never over prepare. It might seem like overkill at times, but say shit at the fan, you're going to be very pleased that you've done that.
Yeah. We've got 62 people watching at the moment. Thank you very much for being here. Don't forget to hit like. All the guys that have joined in tonight, in the boxes, all their channels will be linked, and I'm sure Miss Worm will post them in the chat at some point. Make sure you head over and subscribe to all their channels as well. Roland, if it came to that dreaded bugging out, what would you advise people, destinations and places to avoid? What would be the route plan there? Obviously, you don't want to go to the population center, but is there other places people should really avoid?
Population center. Everywhere where people are, it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
So I would try to go into places outside of cities, definitely. Maybe when you have abandoned houses, avoid them.
Yeah.
Go deep into the woods or into even caves. I would avoid, because the danger that someone is in the cave is pretty high in such situation, depending on the kind of SHF we have.
And what's the plan with preps in that scenario? Is it a case of carry as much as you can, or travel light?
No. So for me, it's depending on the situation. We have 2 e-bikes, and we have 2 carriers for the e-bikes. So in the situation, when the situation would arise, I would pack my e-bikes full of stuff with camping gear and food, and would let them stand at the house, And if I have to flee, I take the e-bikes and I'm gone.
Yeah. No, it's great. I've been looking at the e-bikes. It's a great option. It's going to be better than the bloody electric car I've ended up with.
And the thing is, the e-bikes are going roughly 45 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, so you can get out pretty quick as well on top of that. Yeah. Steve, with obviously your plan is bug in, but this is relevant to all planning and all prepping. We talk about planning and documenting stuff, making sure everyone knows the plan. How do you go about that? Because you don't want folders everywhere with all different family members of your plans, because that's a compromise, right? If somebody gets hold of something like that. So how do you think it's best to do that? Is it repetition and training, or is it actually laminating a sheet and everyone knows the plan?
My plans haven't changed a great deal. So, I haven't necessarily documented anything. I mean, you could put it on your phone, but like you say, again, that could be compromised. So I haven't documented any kind of plan like that, but I do review it regularly with my family, and my kids. I mean, they're all grown up now, but sometimes they come back to stay, so I'll cover the plan with them when they stay. That and they know which ways out we're gonna do if something kicks off. And again, if we're talking, if we're staying on subject of civil unrest and riots, I'd have warning. I know I would have warning here. It's just no way around it. So I'd be able to plan something. Do you know what I mean? I'd be able to brief them with a very up to date plan. So yeah, I mean it's a tricky one. I mean you got youngsters yourself, Mike.
Yeah.
Do you plan for this? Do you plan for getting out? I mean, do you live in a city centre, or are you living away from it?
Do you know what? Till I did the podcast with Lee from the Bug Out, I didn't really plan to bug out. And he put something pretty obvious to me, that like everyone thinks they're Rambo, but if there's 6 people at the door, is it worth putting your family at risk, even if you think you can defend them? So I started putting a lot more into my bug out plans. And now I'm similar to Josh. I've got A, B, C, and D. And everything is... Mine's less of a fixed plan and more like a flow chart. Do you remember the old one? Is it broken, gaffer tape, or WD-40? That kind of flow chart. I've got that kind of thing. Yeah. So car is the car available? Yes, no, bang, go to here. And it's kind of that grid system. As far as teaching others, till I'm in a mag, I don't think it's needed, because I've taught my family the basics of get home. If you're not at home, get home. That's priority 1. And taught them that kind of things. If you're at home and I'm not, stay put. I will get to you. And I think that's what they need to know.
We've got radio comms, set up with agreed channels that we'd go to if things happened with mobile phone comms and that was shut down.
Yeah.
And you never know how again the government's going to react to. It's always the reaction to a situation that could cause further threat. Because the government don't care, so it's us individuals that if something big happens and then they decide to react for the greater good or whatever and decide to shut down communications. And there was even talk with all these riots or civil unrest or whatever we've had, whatever you want to name it, there was even MPs calling out to shut down the internet or shut down access to certain social media apps and things like that. So you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. Welcome to 1984. Right. So another survey. I did one more survey on the community page. Obviously, like to get all the people in the comments involved. So this was basically saying, for building a mag or a mutual assistance group, what's the best approach? Now, I gave them the options of friends and family that maybe don't prep. 12% said that. A group of preppers met via a community like forums or websites. Only 10% said that. Vetted membership prepper community like a club. 14% said that. So that's more than the first 2. Lone wolf trust nobody. 38% people said they would lone wolf it. And the last one was I want a group, but I don't know where to start. 26%. I mean, that's a high percentage of lone wolf, Josh, isn't it? I mean, Do we
I
have a
find
lot
that
of
really
Rambo
disappointing.
fans? We have a lot of Rambo fans in the prepper community, and Commando. I don't want to leave Arnold out. Rambo and Commando. is that the case, or is it just? Do you think they've not thought that far ahead yet?
I think they're not thinking that far ahead. We can't do this alone. We need a mag. We need like-minded people around us all the time. If you think you can do it alone, you are wrong. You really are wrong, because say you came across a group of people. Now they're going to want one thing off you and one thing only, and that's everything you've got, right? And what are you going to do on your own? But if you've got a group, if you've got a mag, you're going to meet up. You're going to have your own security. You're going to defend your base, whatever it is you have going for you. You're just not going to survive this alone. It's just no shit the fan situation. It's survival of it alone. If you believe you can do it that way, well, I just say good luck to you.
Yeah.
I have to be serious.
Does that surprise you, Roland? 38% of people lone wolfing it.
People I think people romanticize the lone wolf thing, but they have to ask them one simple question: how long can you stay awake?
Yeah.
How long can you stay awake? And if you sleep, how long does it take to kill you if you are alone?
Yeah. I think a lone wolfing would be with family, but again, you don't really want to be relying on kids to do stag duties, right? Steve, how practical is lone wolfing it?
I don't think it's practical. I don't. Maybe those people that answered just put that there because they feel like it. Maybe it's not really true. I mean, I think everyone knows you need some kind of backup. But and again, I'm trying to say this without being political again.
Just go on, Steve. You're all right. You're all right.
All right. Let me think.
Go for it.
So when you're going to build a mag group, so I've had friends who are preppers, who, when certain situations have arisen, when it could be almost a trigger for a prepper situation, and again the rhetoric or the narrative causes divisiveness. If that divisiveness gets in between you and that person who is a prepper, you've lost that person. So I don't want to be too specific here, in case they're watching, but there's going to be situations where people's ideals are going to be different. So you need a wide range of people with a wide range of ideals, but a common prepping ideal, if you know what I mean, because you're going to lose some of them along the way, depending on what happens and depending on how the government deals with it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely. Makes perfect sense to me. Josh, there's obviously benefits to having a mag, and it would all love to have a wonderful community and, be completely self-sufficient. What's the risks?
Seriously, I think the risk is infiltration. So, as in the riots, we can kind of assume that some of those rioters are infiltrators, if you like, to cause trouble, because most people that have been involved in these protests, we'll call them for now, have been there legitimately and to do it in an honest and in a human manner. But they've been infiltrated, and I think that can happen in a mag too. So I think we need to be very aware and need to know these people that we join up with for quite some time before we agree that it's a good idea that we all meet together. So, I mean, I trust you guys. So we've been around each other now Mike, I've known you for a year probably now, is it? Something like a year. So so I know that, the way you think is the way I think. So I think, be very careful.
Yeah. It's obviously a lot more close-knit for you, Roland, because you're in a flat. So, I mean, your neighbours are probably a lot closer than our neighbours. Do you see that as a benefit to you? Is that like an instant mag, or is there a risk with that as well?
Depending. So I don't have any contact with my neighbors. And I told you in last week that I'm part of the Irish Prepper group. and we have a mag. So we would meet up in case of when something is happening. I would not take any stranger into the near circle, but in a mag there is always a hierarchy, and the greatest danger is in a mag that the hierarchy is splitted. So if someone is starting to question the
Too many
reason of
chiefs,
the
not
mag,
enough Indians. Yeah.
there can only one boss and not several.
Yeah. So it's got to be structured right. Yeah. Steve, you mentioned get to know your neighbors, talk to your neighbors. I mean, which is great. I mean, I've said that. I said the same thing. I'm slowly starting to speak to people now around here, building profiles in my head of the kind of people they are, tactfully, of course. But how do you assess if somebody's a threat or an asset, especially if that's not a long-term thing, like you're getting to know them over a long period of time? If it was an SHTF situation, to immediately go and talk to them people, how do you assess them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Assess them what for being part of a mag, or just assess them generally?
Generally, if they're going to be, technically they're your neighbors, they're going to be part of that mag no matter what, right? If the SHTF's already happened, how do you assess if they're going to be a threat to a group dynamic,
so
or if they're going to be an asset?
They're going to be your immediate mag, whether you like it or not, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, am I a good judge of character? Probably. I'm much less trustful of people than I used to be. Much more paranoid than I used to be. For
Welcome to
various
YouTube.
Reasons. Yeah.
Comes with a hobby.
Yeah.
But you know, if I first impressions count, and I mean, people you don't, even though you might like. So if I don't like someone, I'll steer clear of them. And there's plenty of people in my neighbourhood who I don't like, and I wouldn't trust them. They are a bit thuggish, some of them, and I steer clear, well clear. You know, I might say hello, but I don't talk to them. But there are plenty of neighbours who I really do get on with. You know, I've been around to their houses. I've helped them out with DIY stuff. They've helped us out. Although they're not part of a mag group, I would hope that I'd be able to count on a couple of them. But you don't know how people will react as well. If there's an emergency, people can do very strange things.
Yeah.
And which, you know, you'll see if you see someone who's involved in a major incident like a car accident or something horrible like that, or see things that they wouldn't normally see in everyday life, they can react very differently to how you might imagine them to react, if you know what I mean. So,
including yourself.
Yeah, you don't know until. I mean, I've got some inkling because of things that have happened over the years, and I'd like to think that I'd be reasonably calm. But yeah, you're right. You don't know until it happens.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I was like in vicinity of a body, I didn't think it'd affect me as much as it did over the space of a week or two after that, like in the back of my mind. So until you're in them situations, it's difficult to really tell. Let's go to the comments quickly. So we've got Elusive Dartmoor had a question. He said, I went out last night with 1 litre of water and a smock. The most important thing is food and water filter and shelter simply. I don't think that's a question. I don't think that's worded as it says question at the start, but it doesn't word as a question. Okay, we'll bypass that one. Stefan says, in an escape situation arises, good preparation is key to success. Basic tactics like creating caches along an escape route.
Indeed.
I feel risky with caches.
Yeah, me too.
Honestly, I'm so worried about going burying a barrel somewhere that's in public access land where somebody could just dig it up.
Kids love it.
There are ways to stash things. There are ways to stash things. You don't always have to bury everything. You just have to know a good location to put it, where you know, it could be an abandoned house, you know, as long as it's not about to be demolished. There are places to hide certain objects.
I think no matter where I found,
use your brain a bit. Oh yeah,
Manholes.
Yeah. Don't give too many.
Don't men go down manholes though at some point.
But you can use them because it's easy accessible, and
Yeah, I
they're
know.
on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not somewhere you could stash it and leave it for a long time, right? Because if the drain goes out and Joe Bloggs goes to do his job and finds an AR-15 and 16 mags down there, he's not exactly going to keep it to himself, is he?
How many AR-15s and mags have you got then, Mike, to bury?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. You throw me under that bus, Steve. Harry says multiple plans for multiple situations is the best plan ever. Yes.
Yeah, agree.
Definitely. Kelly says we moved house a lot when I was little. The first thing my dad did is when we got into a new house was show us the emergency exits, how to get out of the windows, which neighbor to run to. That's good. I'm not sure.
I read that first as which neighbour to raid.
Dad was a big fan of looting. I do the opposite. I move into the house and I say, right, where's the locks? Lock them windows before the kids get out with them. Mr. Atom Blue said, I was working about an hour and a half drive away from home the other day. I wondered how long it would take to walk home if SHTF, and I had to. Maps said 22-hour walk, scary and a bit of a wake up. Yes, and to be honest, the maps that you do that with don't put into account fatigue. They don't put into account incline as much as they should, because you're going to slow drastically down on an incline. Yeah, exactly. There's a massive reality check on that. Some people think, I only work an hour away. Have a look.
That is a two-day trek. That is a 2-day trek.
Yeah,
even for the most able-bodied. So you're going to do 12 hours, 12 miles first day and 10 the second. There's no way around that.
Yeah. So it is definitely try something like that. Lastly, Tony says, I'm a lone wolf, but only because of lack of options. Finding people in my local area with similar mindset isn't easy.
It's not easy.
I don't know if you guys have got any extra advice on that one. What I would say is some of the forums are good. We have our own. Cheap plug, ukprep.co.uk. And you can find people in your area on things like that. But what the best thing somebody said to me is, look at the hobbies that preppers have. Join an archery club, join a shooting club, join things like that, and speak to people. Do it tactfully. Don't just run up to them saying, I'm a prepper, be in my group. But, talk to them and get to know them a bit. But that's if they're doing the same sort of hobbies you do when it comes to like archery and teaching and stuff like that, you'll kind of get to know people that way. Does anybody else you just raise your hand if you have any? Yeah, go on, Josh.
On the issue of forums, I think that's a great place to start for a mag. But what I am finding after a year on our forum, for instance, is that there's a lot of pretenders on there. So a lot of people claim that they're preppers and they say all the right things, but when it comes down to it, they're actually kind of just playing at it. So we're finding it really hard to get a mag going ourselves, in our local areas, let alone nationally. So yeah, I mean, don't rely on things like forums. They're not the be and end all of everything. Then they're probably not going to find you many people in your local area, because a lot of people will just be talking and maybe the odd post because it sounds good, but really they're not preppers at all.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to come to you last, Roland, because you've got an insight into this. But Steve, have you got any advice for finding like-minded people?
Well, when you mentioned hobbies, I've managed to find. I've got to talk to more people who have similar hobbies to me by being part of amateur radio. As I think I mentioned that before, and that's really helped. That's put me sort of in touch with lots of people, ex-forces, ex-police, and people who have that kind of mindset anyway. So that was a great help.
Yeah. If you're interested in the amateur radio side, I think Steve's got a couple of videos on it and about getting the license. I'm right there, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm pretty sure Miss Worm will post that in the comments in the next 4 minutes. Now I've prompted. So, Roland, come to you on this one because you're part of a massive mag.
So we have roughly 3,000 or 3,900 members in our group. It's a Facebook group. But real active on a group are probably 8%
Mm-hmm.
from the roughly 3,500, 3,900 people. So I wouldn't actually want to rely on the people which are not active in a group. And that's why our Mac, which has built from the group, is only built from the active people.
Yeah.
There's still a good 300 people, though, isn't it, Roland?
Yes, but
Yeah.
but still, if you have roughly, imagine you have 4,000 people, and from the 4,000 people, nobody is active. And even when now in the whole situation we are in with, Russia and what else could happen, I would imagine that people would be more active and not less. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The prepper movement in general has gained a lot more traction recently. I mean, we've all seen that with being on YouTube and stuff like that. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Josh and Roland are probably saying the same point. There's a lot of people
we are.
playing the game. I think the big risk for a lot of people think on these online platforms is who's on there, who's watching. Is that an actual prepper, or is that somebody that lives 3 doors away that's wondering what I've got? So, just be careful what you share. I think amateur radio is a good way forward. I just need to not be lazy and go and do that license.
It's really easy. Really easy, man. You do it all online.
And not only amateur radio, I posted it with Meshtastic, because if it works as well. So, and it's for some it's easier to use Meshtastic because you don't need a license for it.
Yeah. Brooks said we went shooting, archery, and quads today. It was amazing, and the owner showed us his World War II bunker. That's the kind of friends to have. I want to do one last question, and this is completely open to you guys to share as much as you want, because this is more advice. We get a lot of new preppers that watch the channel, people that have just started. They've even said in the comments, literally, I've just bought my first can of beans or whatever. If they're worried about these riots going on at the moment, civil unrest, what kind of advice can you give to people right now? How can they prepare right now, especially when we're currently under the rule of law and it's not in their street? But how would you say they prepare to help mitigate that feeling? We'll start with Josh because he's picked up his tablet because he's got notes, and then we'll go to you two and see if he's missed anything.
I mean, feel free to add to this at the end. But what I did is I put a post up this morning or this afternoon on the forum about what I thought you should do if you thought the riot was getting close to you. And the things you can do, we've covered most of this already, is to stay informed. And I don't just mean local news and things like that. Check your internet news. There's a lot of independents out there that you'll get far more useful information to. Stay indoors, keep away from the windows, minimize how much you are seen, right? So, don't make yourself obvious. Don't be in the vision. Don't be in the direct line of sight at any point. If you can secure your property, do that. The minimum you can do is lock it, obviously lock it, but have some wood around, board it up, do things like that. If you're really seriously worried, do not confront any rioter for any reason at all. Your safety is paramount. It doesn't matter what they say and do. You do what you need to do. You avoid them. Don't confront. Don't communicate with them at all. Make sure you've got your emergency kit, like we've talked about already. Make sure you've got your bug out bag or whatever. Make sure you've got medical supplies, things like that. These are things you should be doing anyway. So it's not like I'm covering anything extra special because of riots in that sense. Have your route planned for your escape. So say the riot is heading to your area and you're now at this point you're worried that they may breach your home. Have your route prepared, know your exit, know where you're going, and as soon as you're doing that, by the way, you should be calling the emergency services at the same time. Don't rely on yourself alone to protect your home. Nothing you have in your house is worth it. Not a single bloody item in your house is worth your life or your family's life. And that's kind of just about it. I've covered the authority bits. So add to it, but those are the basic things you want to be doing immediately that you think a riot might be happening near your doorstep. So that's just what I wanted to put on there.
Steve, any advice for the general people with regards to the current situation going on?
You said new preppers, Mike.
Generally, yeah, generally.
Yeah. So someone starting out, or just generally, yeah, absolutely agree with what Josh just said. And you're talking about we've still got rule of law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phone the police if you feel at risk. If your property is, I know Josh did say that, but yeah, absolutely, phone the police. You know, if you feel that your house is threatened, give them a call. Phone 999. Yeah, absolutely. But in the meantime, if you are worried about things maybe coming to your street, or you're worried about what you've seen with the riots, and you think, you know, what would I do? I don't know what I'd do if it came to my street. Think about, you know, if you had to hole up in your house, you know, your house is not necessarily being attacked, but you don't dare go out into the street. You might need some food and water.
Yeah,
you might need some alternative power. So just having even a few days food, if you're just starting out prepping, just go start at the basics. And the basics is always get some food put aside, get some water put aside, get some means to filter water, and maybe some alternative power, or, you know, at least torches that you've got spare batteries for, or, you know, are solar powered, or something like that. Just stick to those basics of prepping, because it covers a whole host of eventualities.
Yeah. Anything to add on to that, Roland?
Don't be emotionally attached, and don't be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the rule of law is still applying and you will be part of it, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. They're
All
shifting
preps
out
are
some,
gone.
they're shifting out some pretty heavy sentences for social media posts at the moment.
Well,
so,
yeah, you're like this. I made up a banner. So what you could do, I think what Roland suggested, don't be part of it, but you could leave your house and join the protest, right? You know, was it our streets? Oh, sorry. Have your banner ready. Just slip in amongst them. They won't damage your house.
The ultimate grey man blend in. Steve's outside his own house going. Steve's outside his own house going, let's get him.
That was a joke.
Yeah. Kelly, question: would you be prepared to fake your support for rioters or deflect their attention? There you go.
That's what I just said.
Been answered. There we go. Interesting. I think, yeah, it's a very dangerous tactic to take seriously. So it is a joke, like Steve says.
If there's still rule of law, then absolutely not. Because the law are going to get you for doing that. So, you know, just phone the police. And if you're really worried, if there is no rule of law, then we've got a lot more to worry about.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. We're coming up to our hour. I want to give you all a quick elevator time to tell us about your channel and what's the next video you're going to put out. Josh, we'll go first.
Yeah, look, this happens every time. And I promise you so much and give you so little. Listen, I've had the year of hell, right? I started off the year in poor health. I had a family member in poor health that took up the middle part of the year, and then I've just been through another poor health session with kidneys and things like that, and now something else. But the plan has always been to get my channel off the ground and do some bushcraft, which I will do. But my next video actually, again, won't be camping. Sorry, guys. It's actually me jumping out of an airplane. I'm skydiving on the 17th. So that's my next video.
Oh, wow.
Josh, instead of coming with me to the prepper meet in the Midlands Outdoor Survival meet, he's going to be jumping out of a plane. I will have my binoculars just in case I can spot him.
If you're anywhere near Salisbury, just look up. I'll be there.
Steve, what's your channel all about? And what's the next video?
Channels are all about prepping in the UK from a UK perspective. I like to think I kind of specialise a little bit in solar power setup. I don't know about specialise, but I do a lot of videos about setting up your own solar power system for backup power. A little bit about off-grid comms as well, and I've got into a bit of camp. Haven't done a wild camp yet, but I'm getting more into camping and sort of talking about being outside and just being outdoors. So my next video, not sure about the camping. Next videos, possibly going to be another solo one, but with a twist. There you
Solo
go.
with a twist. There you go. There you go. He's selling you. He's teasing you. Roland, your channel's just started. Got some
Yes.
cool graphics behind you for your channel. Tell us, what's the plan? What's the next video?
So I have the script already finished, but I didn't find the time to make the video yet. My first video will be about social responsibility in prepping.
Okay.
Because I think it's everyone's responsibility to prep, and that the people should open their eyes and see the reason why we prep, and not the negative side of prepping.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, sounds good. The social responsibility side, I like that. Definitely. Okay, so that's it. I'd like to thank Miss Worm and Scottish Prepper, the moderators in at the moment, and all you guys for joining us in the comments and getting involved. Otherwise, it'd just be 4 crazy tinfoil hat preppers talking to themselves in a box without you guys watching. So you make the difference. Josh, would you like to say goodbye to the masses?
Yeah, goodbye, masses. Stay safe. Keep moving.
Roland?
Goodbye and have a great evening.
Steve?
Yeah, goodbye all. Thanks very much for watching.
Yep. And from me, thanks for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, all that wonderful stuff that the algorithm sometimes likes, sometimes doesn't. And to phrase Dan from the Prepper Fireside, don't die. Bye.
Water stored in jugs and tins, bunkered down through thick and thin. Maps and routes all drawn and laid, preppers live unafraid. At the prepper's fireside we stay, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, round the fire every night. In the glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance. Living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue.